Corso and Catone.
Well, listen, Mark, hold on. When I say, would you have caffeine today?
What the hell is that up to?
Presented by Special Sauce Podcast, Studio 42 Design, and Corso Law Group. Now for the real deal New England feel, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is in the booth, and you're watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, anywhere you podcast. You can get us, and make sure you give us a call. Heated hotline, 855-313-PATS. Give us a take, 24/7. There have been a lot of them this week. We'll talk about that in a second. So we want to pick one or several, as we are this week. So 855-313-7287. Yeah, we got a busy one, a packed one, an emotional show today, Mark. In Weekly Rewind, they lied to us. Chris,
we'll get to that. It's absolutely disgusting what they did to us. Disgusting.
So stick around for Weekly Rewind. We'll talk Patriots. B's and C's. Is it time to panic, Celtics fans? Last night was a little better, but we'll see what happens moving forward. But first, no, there's not going to be a one heated hotline call today. We've gotten many. We've gotten emails. We hear you. We know how pissed off you are with the Patriots. And Mark and I are heated enough for all of you out there. And since we are the real deal New England feel, we're like you. We're going to let them have it. Catone's Comments is now.
Time for Catone's Comments!
I'm so sick of this local media, these so-called experts over here in the New England area, because all they're talking about is, well, does anybody want to come play for Belichick anymore? And, and how's this roster constructed? And listen, Bill can only do what the owner allows him to do spending-wise. Maybe Tommy Curran, who I used to have respect for. No more respect, Tom. Tom, you need to do what Jacoby Myers did. Get a cup of coffee, a plane ticket, and get the hell out of here, because I lost respect for you. You're saying, oh, I like the pass catches we got. How can you like the pass catches? They're the little sisters of the poor. You like the pass catches we got? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? Why? Because you're kissing Bob Kraft's behind, so you want to make it look like this isn't that bad. It is bad. You want to talk about Bob Kraft? He lied to us. He's cheap. It's all about the bottom line. He lied to the fans. He lied to all those season ticket holders. Chris, you got a letter that he sent us the day after the season ended. He was bullshitting everybody. And I repeat, bullshitting. Chris, read the letter.
Oh, I got it. Here it is. Unfortunately, our season ended sooner than hoped yesterday afternoon in Buffalo. And this is the day after, Mark. While we always want to be playing games in the playoff with playoff implications in Week 18, our expectation was to perform better throughout the season to advance through the playoffs. We assure you that no one in our organization is satisfied with the results from the past season. In the weeks ahead, we will be making critical evaluations of all elements of our football operation. We strive to improve and return to the playoffs next year. When we welcome you back to the 2023 seasons, we anticipate presenting you with an improved product on the field, as well as many exciting new feature additions to Gillette Stadium. You have helped create a dominant home field advantage.
Features to Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, we know what that one. We know what that is. Okay, blah blah blah. As always, so on and so forth. There it is, Mark.
So, what improved product are they putting on the field when you refuse to spend money? It's about money. You don't have the allure anymore of the greatest player to ever play the game and say, oh, come play with Tom. You don't have that anymore. You don't have the allure of, we got the greatest coach in history. He looks like he's forgotten his name the last 2 years. So nobody wants to come play for Belichick anymore. Trust me when I tell you that. They ain't coming to play for him. That allure is gone, which means, Bob, and you have to spend money because you're cheap. We know you're cheap. That illusion is gone. Don't pretend like you're not cheap and you want to win. Look at your offseason moves that you've allowed Bill to make. Don't blame this all on Bill. Everybody's blaming this on Belichick. This is an owner issue. An owner issue. Chris and I have been on Belichick enough about personnel decisions in the draft room, and we'll continue to do that. But this is an ownership issue when you will not open up the purse strings. You got more money than any team in the league pretty much to sign free agents. You've signed B and C, second and third tier free agents because you don't want to spend any money, Bob. We understand that now. So I won't be fooled anymore. You went and signed Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay. Yeah, he's a tier 2 or 3 receiver. He ain't a number 1. He ain't got the potential of a Jerry Jeudy or DeAndre Hopkins. See if he can still return to that number 1 status. That's not what Juju Smith-Schuster's giving you. He's going to give you maybe a little more than what Myers gave you, Jacoby Myers, but not much. Not much. But you didn't spend a lot of money on him, so that was a good move. You brought in, we've been talking for 3 years about off the ball, about linebackers that can move with speed, that can get into places that no one else on our team can get. So what did you do? You went bottom of the barrel, spent no money, brought back Mac Wilson and Raekwon McMillan. What are those 2 guys doing? They're not pushing the needle, Bob. It's not a better product. It's the same product. Devin McCourty retired. So did you go get one of those safeties that Chris talked about? No. You went bargain basement shopping. You brought back Jabril Peppers. And if anything, you made it even worse because now you released Jalen Mills, who could play corner, could play safety. He could give you some versatility. Why? Because you saved $5 million. Offensive tackle. Offensive tackle. How is it possible the number 1 offensive tackle in free agency went to go play for Joe Burrow? Whoa! Gee, that's a mystery, Bob. That's a mystery, isn't it? Because you've got nobody at that level of talent left on your roster. That's why, Bob. And you're doing nothing to bring that in. So I don't want to hear about, Curry and all these guys and talking about Belichick. Listen, it's an owner issue. They don't got the balls to say it because they're afraid they'll lose access to what they get from the organization because Bob will X them. Well, this is the real deal New England field, and we're going to tell you how it is. It's an ownership issue. Bottom line, Chris, I'm disgusted. Disgusted with this organization. Totally disgusted.
Yeah. So, Mark, and I'm with you. You see the color shirt I'm wearing today, right?
Oh, I knew that was coming out today. That I knew.
So, yeah. Look, and I'm glad that this is that's why we led with this today, because we heard you. We hear you out there. We know how pissed off you are. We're pissed off too. So if some of you want to say, okay, well, why would you? Belichick's just a hard ass because for some reason he doesn't like Mac Jones. I mean, this is the thought process over here. He doesn't like Mac Jones. He wants to show everybody he's the alpha. So he gets rid of Jacoby Myers and brings in Juju Smith-Schuster because it's the same money. Why wouldn't you keep a guy that knows the system? Why wouldn't you keep a guy that Mac Jones likes? It's because you want to put the screw you to Mac Jones because you don't like him. Blah, 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 blah. That's all I hear. I hear blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get that part of it. Bill Belichick's a prick. I get it. I understand. Yep. We've known it for years. He's done the same crap to Brady, too. Okay? It ain't just Mac Jones. So, fine. Okay, fine. But Juju Smith-Schuster, to me, gives you a little more after the catch. He's a little more explosive, a little bit more, okay, than Jacoby Myers. You're going to see what Jacoby Myers is now. You know who Jacoby Myers is, Mark? Deion Branch. Okay. That's who Jacoby Myers is. Not even as good. Deion Branch, who went somewhere else, died, and then came back. That's what you're going to see Jacoby Myers do. Okay? And I'm not saying Smith any better or whatever. To me, it's irrelevant. I don't even look. I look past that crap like you're doing.
You know what, Chris, what my son said today, 2 days ago when they made the signing? He said, you brought in Juju shit poopster.
Right.
Because
There
he
you go.
he doesn't think, he said you got Hopkins, Jude, you got all these guys out there, and that's who you brought in.
Right.
That he's disgusted.
If they do something else, fine. If they do something else, fine. I don't care about the big. But again, I'm looking past that little swap and going past the bigger issue, just like you're doing right now. Mark, I'm so glad you brought up the other people, the media. Tom Curran's not alone. Phil Perry, Chris Casper, the clown that sits 2 seats down from Felger, Mr. Creamsicle shirt, okay, Mr. Creamsicle jersey. He does the Patriots postgame show on the flagship. Every single time. Look, Greg Bedard, he's another guy. I was watching. Felger's the only, I'll give you props, Felger. You're the only one out there that tries to get down that road with people, with your guests, with everybody else, that Bob Kraft's cheap, that he doesn't spend money. You're the only one who tries to go down that road. Holly, the other night on the show, started on. Look, Greg Bedard, Mark, this is a guy that just basically sits there like a kid in a classroom. When he's called on, he talks. Otherwise, he sits there like a lug, like a frog on a log. You know what I mean? This was the first time I saw him on the show where he interrupted, jumped over Holly when Holly said, is Bob Kraft basically cheap as the owner? I jumped. This is a Bill issue, he said. This is a Bill issue.
No, it's not.
Like Belichick sitting there writing checks for millions and millions of dollars. Like he's sitting in his room. Hey, Bob, give me the checkbook. I'm just going to write them. I'm just going to write the check.
So, Chris, here's the thing, Chris.
You're right. They don't want access taken away.
Chris, here's the thing. Okay, and here's where I disagree with Bedard. So yes, Bill has, and we talked about this just before free agency started, Chris. Bill has certain tiers of what positions he thinks should be paid what money, and it's an old, antiquated, it's old school. It should be ripped up and thrown in the garbage. But we talked about that. We talked about what he thinks a tackle is worth. What percentage of the salary cap do you pay receiver, running back? He's got this whole system built in his head that he thinks certain positions, such as a long snapper, are important to keep and pay on your roster. I understand
Cardona
that.
got $9 million.
Yeah. But listen, so I understand that. So in that sense, Bedard's right, but Bedard's wrong. He's wrong. Because if Kraft was genuine with the letter he sent you, Chris, as a season ticket holder, Kraft would have said, Bill, listen, I get you don't want to pay for a tackle. You're paying for a tackle this year. I'm buying it. Go get me the best tackle in this goddamn free agent class, and I want the best safety in this free agent class because Devin's retiring, and I'll pay for it. So I don't want to hear Bedard about, it's a Bill issue. No, the owner sent that phony letter. That means he's now going to write the check and tell Bill we're spending. That obviously didn't happen, Chris. That didn't happen.
No. What Mark's saying is he has the veto power.
Of
He's
course.
got the power to say, no, Bill. And if you're going to back up your words, see, that's the hypocritical part of this. This is why they lied to us. That's why. Because you come out and you do what I just read to you, and you say, basically we're going to hold everybody accountable. We're going to do serious evaluations. Oh, really? This is what you come up with your serious evaluations? We talked about this 2 weeks ago. We had it. Bill O'Brien, I said, is he really being held accountable? I said, because Bill O'Brien's his guy. And anybody out there that thinks that deal wasn't done a year ago for Bill O'Brien is just stupid and naive. He went to Saban. He had that deal done. Saban, they did a program together. Remember, Mark, where the two of them were videoed together and talking about they're happy for coaches when they get head coaching jobs, but they don't like when they poach. So that deal for O'Brien was done and was just waiting. So what legitimate offensive coach could you find that was going to sit there for 1 year and try to keep it together and then get rid of him and get O'Brien? Nobody. He told his two buddies to do that. The two stooges over there. That's what happened
Chris,
there.
If Kraft was going to hold him accountable, like you said, Chris, then you go get Eric Bieniemy, right?
Or somebody like that. Something different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so all his guys, Clem, his guy, Mayo, still didn't give him the title. His decision. Right? So who the hell is he holding accountable? Keeps the special teams coach. That garbage. It's all bullshit.
And Chris, I think Joe Judge is still here. Joe Judge is still here.
He should never be anywhere near a football field again, Joe Judge. But you know what? I feel more bad for Patricia than I do Judge. You know? So, again,
Chris,
Mark's right.
Let me ask you
He's
this.
right, period.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Jacoby Myers was a locker room favorite. And now the team sees that you didn't pay him, but you gave Juju Smith-Schuster the same amount of money. So if they brought in Schuster and they paid $10 million less, okay, it was a business decision. They got the same receiver for $10 million less. Okay, but they didn't. They paid the exact same money. So what does that tell the locker room? And how's that going to resonate in that locker room, Chris, is my question.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we're saying two different things, right? Okay, we're blaming Kraft. That's a Belichick issue. Right there. There it is. So we'll hold Belichick accountable for that. We're holding Belichick accountable for that. Bob, our problem today is, Bob, you said you were going to hold him accountable, but you're not really doing it. Because if that's the thought process, what Mark just said, then Kraft could have vetoed that and said, wait, hold on. We're not going to get rid of a guy for all the reasons Mark just said. So, Bill, I don't know what your motive is for doing this, unless you really think Schuster's better, fine. But if what's your motive for doing it, then we're not doing it, Bill. If O'Brien thought Schuster would be better in his type of offense, okay, I don't know. Maybe Schuster's deal is more incentive-laden, and I heard that this week too, and the people are pissed off about that. Look, I don't know why you'd be pissed off about the fact that the Patriots did a better deal.
Well, Chris, again, the owner is cheap.
That's it. And we're going to, in the next segment, we're going to talk about the guys that he didn't get.
Is 100% right. Felger is 100% right.
And he's the only one with the eggs to freaking say it. All these guys, they don't want access. You think Phil Perry, these guys broadcast from on the field in their post game. Jim Murray, Mr. Creamsicle shirt over there, jersey, is the post game guy. Horrible too, by the way. You're gonna be coming to the Pats Nation, ours, because that one's atrocious.
Oh,
what do you think's gonna happen if all Kraft's gonna do is make a phone call to 98.5 or any of these other ones and say, "Yeah, this guy's done. He's not coming into the building anymore. Sorry, that's it." First Amendment, nothing. Those companies will say, "Okay, we'll get somebody who looks and talks just like you to come onto the show and do what we need done." That's it. That's all this is. That's why nobody will call out Kraft. Well, we're calling him out. That's it. We're calling him out today. And that's the bottom line. Mark, listen, you couldn't be more right. And finally, there's a voice of the fans that are out there telling you, hey, Bob Kraft, you duped us. You lied to us. You said shit to appease us. And we're pissed. We're pissed about it.
Chris, by the way, in that letter, was there anything about a season ticket increase price? Why?
Yeah, don't even get me started because I'm about to pay my invoice. And it hiked. It hiked. You know why? Because we're paying for that. Yeah, they got $33 million under the cap, right? They're going to pay for the stupid lighthouse with that. You know what, Bob? Forget the lighthouse. Bring back the benches. Bring back the aluminum benches and put a product on the goddamn field, Mark, right? Oh.
I love it.
I told you we were heated enough for all of you. So Catone's Comments was presented by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm, corsolawgroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Listen, when we come back, we're going Weekly Rewind, and we're going to tell you, we're going to talk to you about some of the guys we missed on and some of the guys they're still talking to and who it is we got. All that and more right after this.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to corsolawgroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. Listen, so we'll calm it down just a little bit right now. We need to talk about some of these players, Mark, because you and I, for the past several weeks, have gone through wide receiver, offensive line, linebacker, defensive backs. The need, the glaring needs for this team. And let's talk about what they didn't do first. Weekly Rewind, Joe.
Going back through the week, about a weekly rewind.
So, Mark, we talked about a couple of weeks ago we talked about the wide receiver room. Okay, now we did say that if you're going to get a wide out, free agencies, this isn't really the year for that, right? I mean, we talked a lot about that it should come more in a trade situation. So I want to talk about that because we've covered the Jacoby Myers issue and Juju Smith, okay, which is a move that they made. Now, why hasn't a trade been made yet?
Because we also talked about, Chris, in past shows that there's two issues at play here. It's the money, whether Kraft wants to take on a contract like a DeAndre Hopkins. So that's one issue. The second issue is Belichick doesn't want to deal with giving up draft capital, Chris. It's something he's never done. So in order to get a guy like Judy, it's probably, they say, rumor is maybe now they want a 1. They don't want a 1. If you give up a 2 and a 4, you'll get Judy. He don't want to give up a 2 and a 4, Chris. It's already publicly been said for DeAndre Hopkins, Arizona will take a 2 and a 4. Belichick don't want to give up the draft capital. That's the issue. And the other issue with Hopkins is unless he agrees to restructure, Kraft's not paying that contract, Chris. And that's the bigger issue there with Hopkins is Kraft not paying that salary. But do they understand, Chris, unless you can keep drafting great receivers in the draft, a top tier number 1 wide receiver is making $20 million a year. Kraft may not want to pay the $20 million, and Belichick may not think the receiver position is worth that kind of money. But in 2023, it is. So those are your two problems with Judy and Hopkins.
And right now, those are the guys that I believe. I mean, with what's out there, other than
I do believe, Chris, as you get closer to the draft, those two guys are both going to get moved. They ain't coming to New England, but they're going to get moved before the draft. I bet you.
Yeah, I mean, it's two forces banging against each other, right? And all of it comes out to a pile of crap when you boil it all down, right? Because you got Kraft who doesn't want to spend, and you got Belichick who doesn't want to give up draft capital, who can't draft to save his damn life anyway for this position, right? So those two things just keep banging against each other. In the meantime, and then you got Belichick, his control issues. He has to maintain control of everything, which is what you're seeing with those incentive-laden deals. You get so many games on the field, then you get this amount of money, you get this, then you get this, then you get this. Players can't stand those things. Those are outdated concepts, and those are all Belichick's. That's Belichick's design to just keep control of everything, to keep his fist, so he's the most important person in the room, right?
Chris, yeah, absolutely. Chris, how about Dorsett? They're interested in Philip Dorsett?
I almost threw up when I saw that. I saw the thing on the Twitter. I see Dorsett. I'm like, Dorsett? So we're just going to – the other one, too, is we'll trade for Cooks. He's the most traded player in the NFL is Cooks. We're going to get him back again? The guy that took that beating against Philly in the Super Bowl and knocked them out of the game? Look, it's a joke, Mark. So, okay, wide receiver. Look, we still saying the same thing. Odell Beckham Jr., that's another one. Okay?
Not going to pay for him, Chris.
Well, guess what? It came out yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was, that the number he's looking for is like $16 million. That's not bad.
They're not going to pay it, Chris. They're not going to pay it.
Give him 2 years. What the hell are they going to pay for? Then you don't have a wide receiver. Then you have no wide receivers. That's it. That's it. So, by the way, I don't know what the Raiders did either, because getting Jacoby Myers is like a clone of Renfro. I don't understand. Both of them played 70, 80% of their plays were or 60 to 80% of their plays were from the slot. Both of them. So I'm not really sure what McDaniels is going to do over there.
McDaniels, McDaniels is as much of a tool and as much of an idiot as the owner is out there. I mean, you might see McDaniels fired at the end of the year, Chris, because I still don't think they're going to win.
And then they traded away their tight end.
What
too.
was up with that move? Why would you trade one of the best tight ends in the league?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But the bottom line here is, if you want to justify the Juju Smith move and look past it like I'm doing, then go get Odell Beckham, which out of the three guys, he's the least of what I want. I'm looking at Judy, Hopkins, and then him. You want to do something like that? Fine. Now we're talking. Okay. So that's a wide receiver, Mark. Now,
Chris,
the bigger.
Before you move on, though, one question. So Juju Smith-Schuster, I personally think he's better than, as you said, Chris. I think he's a little more explosive after the catch. I think he can fight inside a little bit more. He's an upgrade. He's not a number one. He's an upgrade. But we also got to look at that with a grain of salt. His best years were opposite Antonio Brown. Well, of course they were, because Brown opened up the field for you. So he went to Kansas City. People thought he was going to put up better numbers than he did. Yeah. So I'll just leave it at that. I think he's an upgrade. He's an upgrade, but I don't know how much of an upgrade, Chris.
I was trying to justify it by saying, well, maybe because he was in Kansas City, he got less attempts. Maybe Myers, because the reason why Myers is relevant at all is because he was the only one here. He was
because your wide receiver room sucks. That's why.
Right. So he got like 94. Each of them got around 100 attempts. So that argument I make doesn't really jive. Anyway, well, I was trying to find any reason, for this, but anyway. So looking at the offensive line, this may be, other than linebacker, this may be the most egregious of what we did. And bear with me because it's. So here's what's off the market. Okay. Orlando Brown, gone to the Cincinnati Bengals, who great move by them, by the way. Great move. Yeah. Gone. McGlinchey, gone. Okay. Now these were our top
Chris,
two.
who signed McGlinchey?
That was
that Atlanta?
No, I thought it was Denver. Yeah, Denver.
Okay.
Denver signed them. Okay, it was 87. It was 5 years worth, 87 million, 50 million guaranteed, which is like that's like nails going down a chalkboard for Bob Kraft. Hearing that, you know what I mean? So and then Orlando Brown got 4 years, 64 million, with 31 million as a signing bonus. So that's not even as good as McGlinchey's numbers. But
Chris, who did Kansas City sign?
As far as a
they signed a good tackle. The third tackle you liked went to Kansas City, I believe.
Yeah. I didn't. I'd have to look deeper into that one. But those were
the two guys. I think it was the guy from Jacksonville, Chris.
Yes, it was. But those so those are two of the guys. They didn't even get the other tiered. Do you remember the other tiered? And I'm trying to find my offensive line sheet here. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So the other guy we were talking about, Orlando Brown, McGlinchey, some of the other ones were guards. Then we went about McGarry. Okay, gone. McGarry, I don't know who he signed with, but Caleb McGarry signed somebody somewhere else. Jawan Taylor is who you're talking about.
Yep.
Okay, that's okay.
I think he went to Kansas City, right?
I think so. Yeah, and then Kelvin Beachum also gone. I think he signed back with Arizona. So none of the guys we talked about, Mark, the Patriots, it doesn't even look like they friggin' looked at them. I don't know how you justify that with the way the tackle position was last season.
I don't know.
Explain that, because I don't understand.
I can't explain it. Listen, Chris, because the guys, and we talked about this when we went through that position group, Chris, that there was no way that they were going to pay that kind of money. It was going to take the sign to those positions. Tackle now is a premium position. Belichick, I don't know if he values that position. If in his hierarchy of positioning and who he likes to pay money to, I don't know how much he values the position, number one. Number two, Kraft was never going to pay the money that it took to sign those guys, Chris. He wasn't going to.
It's so okay. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. They did sign a couple of tackles. Riley Reef, you know who that is?
Yeah, he's 34 years old, by the way.
Yeah, 11-year veteran, 149 starts at both tackle spots. Mr. Versatile. He wants guys that can play everywhere, both sides, right? Allowing 3, he started 10 games, allowed 3 sacks, 18 pressures, blah, 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 blah. So they signed a BC, a tier, probably C plus, B minus guy. Then you got Calvin Anderson, who signed. Spot starter at left tackle, and swing backup during 3 seasons with the Broncos. I don't want to read anymore about that.
He's a swing. He loves those guys, Chris.
Those are the tackles. Those are the 2 tackles. That's your answer.
No, but didn't we also sign Kajewski to an offer sheet?
Yeah, the guys that remain with the Patriots. Yep. Okay, so the returning guys are, well, don't forget Cardona is an offensive lineman, sort of. He's a long snapper. He should have gotten $9 million. That's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And again, these are not. Listen, this is nothing against the guys. The players. Good for them. They signed and everything. But okay, so the bottom line is they got nothing. So they let.
So Chris,
those guys
how are
go.
you protecting Mac Jones?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I have no idea. They're going to draft one because I don't think where they're drafting at 14. I told you already that I don't think the tackles are going to be there, the ones that are worth taking. So I'm not really sure what you do at left tackle, or you're going to use Trent Brown, that slug, and then you're going to have a right tackle. You got McDermott. You got, some of these guys, now these dudes around. So I don't know. You better draft well. You better draft well. And then moving over to linebacker, Mark. Talk about this. I can't.
Okay, so for the last
anymore.
couple of years, Chris, and last year specifically, we'll stick just to last year. Every single post-game show, you talked about the middle of the field, linebackers who can get sideline to sideline. That's the one piece that's missing from this team. We need it. We got to do it. We got to get it in free agency. Before free agency started, you talked about Edmonds from Buffalo. We had the money to sign him. Let's do it. That solidifies the center of the field, and we got a championship defense. So what do? They bring back Mac Wilson, and they bring back Raekwon McMillan, 2 retreads from last year who already proved to you, Chris, that they can't play that position the way it needs to be played if you want to become a championship defense and go to the next level. And you brought up a great point this week to me, Chris, a great point. Besides those linebackers coming back and not signing who we should have signed, you also lost the general back there who put all the pieces in place in Devin McCourty. And I know you're going to speak about that when we get to the defensive backs. But those 2 linebackers were what we chose to spend money on. Chris, you spent probably less than $5 million on both of them. That's why they're here.
Right. That's it. There it is. That's it. Because Edmonds is gone. He's in Chicago. Levante David gone. Tampa Bay re-signed him. Who else here? Even Zach Cunningham, the guy that Belichick loved in the past.
Who
right?
signed
that
him,
was
Chris?
Released. Houston signed him.
I missed that one.
Okay. I got nothing else. Van Der Esch, back to Dallas. It just goes on and on and on like this. Throw it the fucking, you know what I mean? Seriously, throw it out. I'm crumbling papers.
So,
up
Chris,
for those
what are Mac Wilson and Raekwon McMillan bringing you on defense? Explain that to us.
I mean, it was the same thing as last year. I mean, they didn't get it done last year. You think they're going to go sideline to sideline to sideline? Okay, I mean, Mac Wilson was what? He was hurt coming in, right? Or was it McMillan? One of these 2 guys was hurt, and from it coming off an ACL or something like that.
That was
right?
McMillan.
It was going to McMillan. So they think, well, his second year off the ACL, he'll be better. I don't know. And by the way, they didn't get on the field enough either. That was the other thing. Tavai and friggin' Bentley were on the field more. They had more snaps. So if you're going to bring these guys back, put them on the field, right? At least. All right, we're running out of time in the segment, so let's go to the defensive backs. Mark says it. We lost McCourty, which means we lost the general out there. And listen, for anyone who don't understand the free safety position, your linebackers, inside linebackers calling the plays, all that. But the safety spot back there is basically the general. They're running a lot of what's happening out there on that field. They're looking at coverage. They're looking at row combinations. They're settling down their secondary in a pass-driven league. And losing McCourty is, yes, he lost a step, but what he gave you on the field, I don't know what you're going to get back. And you had guys like Bates. You had guys like Poyer. You had guys like Bell. You had guys like this. And they're all gone. You didn't even try, Mark.
No.
You didn't even try for these guys. And so
And Chris,
at this point,
then the guy you thought they could slide, maybe the safety, Mills. What was up with that?
now maybe that's a way they're going to get him back. Again, more money issue, more money. We're
Money.
going to save $5 million under the cap that we don't intend to spend anyway, right? Which is all nonsense anyway. The cap's
For the
just
light
a
that's
disguise.
for the light tower. That's for the light tower.
That's
So
good.
Chris,
And
did they do anything
in
at
the
corner?
banquet hall.
I don't think they signed a corner, did they?
So they signed. By the way, the linebacker they signed was Chris Board. You ever heard of him? No.
No, who's he?
No. It's not worth bringing up. So
He drives he was driving the public transit bus last week.
right. No, they got Jabril Peppers back, who I thought I didn't live up to his hype. Okay, and they're going to stick him back there. Obviously, they brought Jonathan Jones back again. No, they didn't sign somebody new. Okay, they
brought no depth and no versatility. They didn't bring another. They didn't bring. You and I mentioned. Trade for Ramsey. Why? Well, because Ramsey's contract's too rich for your blood.
They don't want to pay. Yeah, they don't want to pay the note. I mean, the freight. Some of the people they're hosting, I don't. Taylor Rapp is the safety that they're hosting. Yeah, maybe he can play back there a little bit, but he's not. This is not Nick Scott, 27-year-old free agent. Nick Scott again. It's not. It's. You should be pissed off out there because we're in trouble.
So Chris, what is he going to address safety in the draft? What's he addressing? He's going to get corner depth in the draft because he hasn't brought anybody in.
Yeah, what, like Duke Dawson and Razai Dowling and all these second and third round picks?
Wait a minute. My fault. He did sign Miles Bryant.
Right? We have to go to break on that. I can't because I'm gonna absolutely I'm gonna bleed from my ears in about 2 seconds if we talk about Miles Bryant. So. Listen, let's take a break. We'll come back and talk about, but this portion of Corso and Catone was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. Hey, listen, when we come back, we're going to continue in Weekly Rewind. We're going to look at who we kept, who we signed, who we're looking at now, and can this whole thing be salvaged? All that and more right after this.
It's the Special Sauce Podcast. You liking the sauce? The sauce is good, huh?
This is start out his finance. Train him, trust him, and let him lead.
With your host, Marcus Aurelius.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. So we talked about who they didn't get. And by the way, we didn't talk about who lapped us. Pretty much everybody, right, in the division, Mark. I mean, you know.
Yeah. And Chris, so we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I guess they're working out a deal to bring in Aaron Rodgers, correct? Isn't that what everybody's reporting? He mentioned it. They signed Lazard, his receiver.
Talking about the Jets.
It hasn't gone through officially, but I guess they're working on the details of that trade. And I know you don't like the deal. I know you think that they're going to put themselves behind the 8 ball for another 7 or 8 years. I get that. But I think the immediate impact will be they're not going to go to a Super Bowl. He's not taking them to a Super Bowl. The AFC is too difficult. However, he may push you into last place in the division.
Yeah, I mean, you know, up front, it looks great. It looks great for the Jets. Listen, I think the Jets lapped you because of defense. Because of what they have on defense, I think they're better than you now.
Yeah,
you know, and
I agree.
You didn't do enough yet on offense.
I agree. So,
but everybody else in the division, yeah, we know Buffalo's better. We know Miami's better. I mean, that's it. Yeah, they beat Miami twice last year, I think. But it's still, are we split with them. I don't know.
No, we
But
split with Miami. Miami beat us
split
down
Miami.
there with Tua.
right.
And Chris, Miami, we only beat Miami up here because they had a third string quarterback playing.
That's right. And so again, and that's to me, I got to be honest. I thought Miami could have beaten Buffalo in the playoffs.
With a third string quarterback, Chris.
With Tua playing. So yeah, they're better than you too. To say nothing about the other teams, because I think the Raiders are probably going to make a push now too. Right? I don't know what San Diego's going to, or the Chargers are going to do, but again, I don't know what Deshaun Watson's going to be like. I don't know what I think Baltimore got worse because I don't know what the hell they're going to do over there at quarterback. Although nobody.
Chris, and you
by the
still
way,
got
address that. Address the rumors about the pay. Is this just something the media is coming up with locally just to keep everybody engaged? Because
Chris.
can you possibly see Lamar Jackson here?
So Lamar Jackson turns down a 3-year, allegedly 3 years, like $140 million around there from Baltimore.
All guaranteed.
All guaranteed. So that's between 40 and 45 million a year. You think Bob Kraft's going to go higher than that, and he's going to guarantee? Are these people in Disney World, Chris?
I'm telling you, it has to be to generate. So because the Patriots had no buzz at all for free agency, none, zero. The best free agent they signed, which, it's better. It's, is Gesicki, is the tight end from Miami. They signed him yesterday or the day before. And so,
and Chris, I mean, even that wasn't big money. It was a 1-year deal. So even at that, you didn't go crazy.
No, it's a typical Patriots. It's a typical Patriots thing. By the way, you talk about the other teams that lapped them. Just so you know, here's our opponents. Okay, here are the quarterbacks on the list next season: Josh Allen twice, Herbert once, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, most likely. Tua twice. Oh, Aaron Rodgers twice. Tua twice. Derek Carr, I think, is a joke. Sam Howell, Washington, whatever. Colts, whoever they get as a rookie. Kenny Pickett, Garoppolo, Daniel Jones, who just got a lot of money. Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. Those are the quarterbacks that we play against. So,
But we're gonna make the playoffs and make a deep run, Chris, a deep run. Bob Kraft said we're gonna put a product on the field that's gonna win playoff games. That letter, Chris, is such BS. When you look at what they've done in free agency, it's ridiculous.
Well, here's what they've done. So they brought in linebacker Chris Board. Okay, do you know who that is?
He must be for special teams because I don't even know who he is.
A lot of special teams moves. A lot of special teams moves this week. Mike Gesicki, who we already talked about. And by the way, he's not really a tight end, though. I like the move. That's the move I like because he's not really a tight end. He's a receiver that's bigger. That's what he is. The problem with Gesicki is every one of his catches is contested, and he's good at it. I mean, he'll go and take the ball away. But the reason why they're contested is because he's faster than quicker. So when he's coming in and out of routes, and he's easy to cover. He's easy to get up on the top shoulder. That's why every catch he makes is contested. He gets credit for that, but he doesn't get enough, crap for his lack of quickness. So he's a tight end with a wide receiver, like a wide receiver. So I like the move. He's better than Jonnu Smith. Got it. Okay. Running back, James Robinson. Mark, make sense of this. Why are we signing
I can't make sense of it, Chris. I really can't. So do we think he's an upgrade over Damian Harris? Because if you offered Harris that same contract, he would have re-signed here. So I don't know what that sign. Can this kid catch the ball out of the backfield, Chris? I don't necessarily think he's that great out of the backfield because when they originally signed him, I'm like, oh, maybe he's a good third down back, but I don't believe so. Yeah,
I mean, I guess you could say with Harris, he's hurt a lot.
He is.
Harris has been hurt every single season. So if you need some depth so that you're protecting Stevenson,
Robinson's coming off an injury.
Right. That's true. Yeah. We talked about the two tackles they picked up, Reef and Anderson, that, again, these are guys that are journeyman, offensive linemen that I don't know that they move the needle. They don't move. No, they don't. They don't move the needle. They do not move the needle. Mac Jones is still going to get crushed. Hey, by the way, with Juju Smith-Schuster, which we talked about that, Do you think, again, because this has been floated out there too, that Lamar Jackson really liked him, tried to get him into Mark, for those of you listening, Mark's shaking his head right now. He's just shaking his head. You think, you know,
What do you
because
think they brought him in to recruit?
so that
Lamar
Lamar Jackson. I tell you what, though, nobody's talking to him. Nobody's talking to Jackson. Nobody.
Chris,
he's going to have to get off that
week.
Guaranteed contract stuff. He's going to have to.
He's going to get off the guaranteed contract stuff, number one. Number two, you said it last week, Chris, there needs to be a collusion investigation because when Baltimore didn't tender him, it was a non-tender. It was they franchised him, but he could go negotiate with somebody else. You knew that Baltimore knew when they did it. The owners all talked, nobody signing him because they wouldn't have risked it. They wouldn't have thrown him out there and risked it.
No, they don't want the guarantee.
Nobody's going to negotiate with him.
No, they're pissed off at the Browns for doing what they did with Watson because they don't want to set the precedent for fully guaranteed.
The owners aren't going to do it.
I don't blame them for that, though. I don't blame the owners for that, man. I mean, I want the players to get what they get, but Jesus, you can't guarantee these contracts with guys. It's too volatile of a sport. Too violent.
Of all the owners, you think Kraft's going to be the one who does it?
No.
Are they crazy? Are these people I don't even know, Chris, what these people are thinking when they make these comments.
No, Kraft's at the center of the whole ownership as far as sticking together sort of guys. I mean, he took it on the chin with Brady, which is all shows you that when Brady gets suspended. So here are the guys that are coming back. Okay. Equale, like you talked about. So they signed their own guys. They're signing their own guys, right? Equale, Joe Cardona, he can't even. Mac Wilson, we talked about. Jabril Peppers, Kyle Davis, the defensive tackle, which I thought was a good bring back. I do.
Yeah, it's good comeback.
Jonathan Jones. Also, we talked about out of the guys that are left free agents, that's one of them you may want to bring back along with Jacoby Myers.
Jonathan Jones was also a team-friendly deal. He didn't get big money.
No, he didn't. McMillan, we talked about. Ferenz is back. The offensive lineman. Good depth piece. We talked about that. Connor McDermott, another depth piece. Again, all tiered, second, third tiered guys. Matthew Slater for leadership is fine. Guys that left, Myers, Jonnu Smith, McCourty, obviously, Jake Bailey, who I think signed with Miami.
Yes.
The punter. So the guys left on the list, Miles Bryant, they brought back. I can't talk about that. I'm too irritated. Did they bring back Kajust? Did I see that, or is he still out there?
Yeah, they tendered him, so I'm assuming he'll be staying.
So the guys that are still out there are Wynn, Juwan Williams, Damian Harris, Aguilar. These are guys that are still out there for free agents, right? So, okay, so this is what it is, and they're talking to a few journeyman players to try to bring in. Can this be salvaged? Can this free agency thing be salvaged at this point, Mark? What is it they can do?
No. The answer is no. So the only thing that could salvage this, Chris, is if you make a deal for a number one receiver, okay, which would be through trade. And even in the draft, Chris, I mean, do you try only because of how Belichick uses again? And this is a Belichick issue, not a Kraft issue. Every other team drafts guys, Chris, and they become immediate contributors. Not Belichick. He has an issue with rookies becoming immediate contributors. I mean, yes, Jack Jones did, and I guess that's a position maybe they do sometimes. But other than that, Chris, where does rookies on this team never become immediate contributors? Because that's not what he preaches. It's almost, okay, it's 1982, you're going to wait your turn. But that's a bunch of horse shit. Because no other organization does that anymore. So, no, I don't know how you turn this around, Chris. You've got a serious problem right now. A big, big problem.
So many feel the only way to do that is to bring a guy like Lamar Jackson. I keep smiling when I say it. You can't see me on the radio.
Okay, so Lamar Jackson comes here, Chris. What does he do for you? Tell me right now. If Lamar Jackson signs, they figure out the money, they bring him in. Okay, what does Lamar Jackson do for you?
I mean, he's an upgrade right now. At quarterback, he is, because he could do a lot of. He's versatile, he could do a lot of things as far as with his legs, and if they want to be a team that's more of a ground team, he can get that done. He could throw intermediate routes, but he can't throw to the edges. We're not going to get off that. He can't throw to the edges, which you don't have receivers that can do that anyway, Mark. So I guess he's a fit because you don't have guys that can beat coverage downfield anyway. So
I was just going to say to you, Chris, with Lamar Jackson, do you need a number one receiver?
No, why? For what?
That's why I asked you the question.
Now. That's why Hopkins becomes better than Judy, because he's a guy that can catch balls over the middle and run with it. Yeah, that's what you need. Gilsecki is a good pickup then. Juju Smith-Schuster is a good pickup. That's what these things mean. Here's the problem. What happens when he gets hurt and doesn't put himself back on the field in a playoff game like he did to his team last year when he should have played? They were basically begging him to play.
So, Chris, here's my question.
Contract year. That's why he didn't play.
Listen, I don't believe they're bringing him in because I don't think Kraft will ever spend that kind of money. But I'll humor you and I'll entertain you. If Jackson came here, my only issue is then why the hell didn't you trade Mac Jones for picks already?
Again, and why didn't you do it before, right when free agency began, so that you can attract some different guys to want to come here?
Because I do believe, Chris, if you offered him up, Josh McDaniels would have taken him over Garoppolo. He's younger.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
You know,
maybe even San Francisco.
So I don't know. Yeah, so
maybe even San Francisco, because when they came out, Mark, there was talk that San Fran liked Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Remember?
So I don't know what they're thinking. If they were going to bring in Jackson, then the boat passed you by with Mac Jones. When are you going to trade him? You're right, Chris. Free agency's already happened. That had to happen before anybody got signed.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see if anything they do, if they can make some kind of a big deal, a big splash, get a trade together, do something. Keep your eye on Drew Tranquil. Again, second, third guy, but as a linebacker, I liked when he was at Miami, right? Linebacker there. He's kind of a do-it-all guy, gets around the ball, gets sideline to sideline, can cover, can blitz some. He's a guy you can bring in that could help in the center of that field a little bit. So lots to talk about in the coming weeks. We want to hear you. Now we want to hear your heated hotline calls again, because we want to hear from you about what you think they should do. But they lied to us. They lied to us. Weekly Rewind was presented by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Hey, listen, when we come back, we're going to talk B's and C's, and is it time to panic, Celtics fans? All that and more right after this.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. So listen, we're going to talk a lot of Celtics in this segment, a little less Bruins with the time we got left. But Joe, B's and C's, let's have it. For those of you on the radio, for those of you listening on iHeart and so on, you can't, it's all music. You can't see it's some cool graphics to that tune. It's like our wash lead-in thing. But it's so cool, the music. You don't need words, right, Joe?
What's the use of words when you're just grooving to the B's and C's, man?
So listen, Mark, look, I'm not worried about, are you worried about the Bruins?
No.
I'm not either. They're playing right now.
Omar get a little bit of a stretch, Chris, there. I don't know if he got a little tired. He got a couple of bad games, but I'm not worried about them.
But they've rebounded a little bit. I'm not concerned about them at all. But I'm
not concerned.
Mark, is it time to panic?
I don't know if it's time to panic, Chris, but I am telling you, and I know you don't think it matters. I'm getting more and more nervous by the day of that if they're going to play Milwaukee. I am getting nervous because I don't know. Something needs to be, I don't know. Something has to happen, Chris. And I don't know if the coach needs to step up a little bit? I don't know, but I'm getting a little nervous, a little bit. I'm not panicking, but I'm getting a little nervous. I don't know about you.
They're lying to us too. Everybody's lying to us, Mark.
That's Chris's thing today.
Everybody's lying, laughing and lying, right? Like
what is your issue with the Celtics, Chris?
Yeah, listen, I to me again, it just seems like they're too calm. It seems like they're too relaxed. They take losing too easily, and I don't know who. And again, the breakdowns in the fourth quarter, and it even happened last night a little bit, where in Portland, where Portland kind of made a run. They were up 13. They brought it back down. And it just seems like they fall back into bad habits, right? In the fourth quarter of these games. So I asked you, who's to blame for this? Is it the players or is it Sleepy Joe? That's what I've coined him, Sleepy Joe. Because when you hear Joe Mazzulla in press conferences, he's calm. Yeah, if we lose, that means we need to lose. It's all part of the journey.
So, Chris, you know what I take from those press conferences? Yeah. If that's his demeanor in a press conference, how is he sticking his foot up there, in practice when they need to be ridden a little bit? Obviously, that's showing you, Chris, that that's not in his DNA. And Udoka last year, he'd get on your ass if you weren't playing well. So there is a difference of coaching style there, it appears. And what Udoka did woke them up and got them where they needed to be last year. So I think it's more, Chris, of the coach needing to wake this team up, shake them a little bit, get in a couple of guys' faces and say, hey, you're supposed to be a superstar. You're not playing like one, jackass. Let's go. Fourth quarter is your time. You want to consider, you got the MVP to show us. Like, he's going to give it to Tatum a little bit and try to motivate him. Because Tatum, for what he thinks he is, and he thinks he is, well, you're not showing it right now,
Well, yeah, I mean, getting back to Mazzulla, he's saying things in the press conference calmly, that are right. The margins, he's talking about the bad habits. There are bad habits that are being created in the fourth quarters, Mark. You're talking second chance points. The offensive rebounds for the other teams is just atrocious. Free throws are down. Turnovers. Again, the urgency in that period, which you're going to need in the playoffs. You're going to need to be a finishing team that finishes, okay? Not a dribble up, like Mark said last week. Kick it out, look for three-pointers instead of finishing at the rim, all these things. Now, last night they did a lot better. With ball movement, they got to the rim in Portland, and they did the things that we think of. But I still don't, with Sleepy Joe, I still don't understand the lineups. I don't think the players understand the lineups. His substitution patterns are odd to me, Mark. Like, Chris, they're on a run with Blake Griffin in there, and then he pulls them out. He switches up.
At this point of the season, Chris, it still doesn't look like he figured out his rotations. And that's a rookie coach. That's definitely a rookie coach. You haven't figured out your rotations yet? I mean, it's the middle of March, third week of March. You don't know your rotations? I mean, come on. You're getting into playoff mode now. And I will use, Chris, an old Bill Parcells adage, you are what you are. And is that just what this team is? You are what you are, and you're going to have to just overcome it and try to win a championship. But you are what you are, and maybe those things aren't going to change. And that's just something you're going to have to struggle through and still try to win a championship, Chris.
Yeah, and real quick, Mark, with the players, you're right. It starts with Tatum. If you want to be a star, Tatum, then Larry Bird in the finals called his friggin' team out onto the carpet in a press conference, in the press, and said, yeah, we have no heart, is what he said. And I think the next game after that was the Rambis game, where they just attacked him in the lane and fist fights were happening. Maybe it's not his DNA, but you want to win a championship, you got to finish. You got to be the guy at the end that makes that shot when you're driving the rim. Jordan, Magic, Bird, Kobe, his hero, never missed that layup, period. Right?
No, I agree, Chris. That's and even LeBron, Chris, has that in his DNA. Granted, I don't think LeBron has the DNA, has that killer instinct like Kobe and Jordan had, but he's got it. I mean, obviously, But yeah, Tatum, Chris, and I don't know if that can be taught, Chris. Though that's the one thing that I don't think can be taught. If that's something intuitive inside you that you have coming through and coming up, and if you don't got it now, Chris, I don't think that's not teachable. That's not teachable if that's not in your DNA.
Then you're not going to win a championship. Because if your star player, if your best player can't come up with that in the playoffs, you're not going to win because Giannis is going to do it. Curry's going to do it. You know what I mean? So are they a championship team right now? Right now.
I still think they are, Chris. When I look around the league, I think the Eastern Conference is going to be Milwaukee, Boston. That's going to be your Eastern Conference final. I'm not impressed with the West, Chris. I think the winner of Milwaukee, Boston wins the championship. So I think you're still a contender because I think the winner of Milwaukee, Boston, is your NBA champion this year. I just don't like the fact that you may have to go to Milwaukee in a Game 7 with Mazzulla as your coach. I'm just not comfortable. And I know you don't care, but I care about that Game 7 in Milwaukee. This year I do. I do care about that.
I'm starting to care. I'm starting to care now because of what they've been playing like lately. So, and that Milwaukee game coming up in 2 weeks, that's a big one. Yeah. So 12 games to go. We'll see what happens. They lied to us. Everybody lied to us today, but we're not lying to you. Corso and Catone was presented by Special Sauce Podcast, specialsaucepodcast.com. Hey, listen, get on, watch, listen to our shows. They're all up for you. Subscribe, give us that follow, a thumbs up, and come back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking more free agency and trade, hopefully trade talk, and maybe hopefully a big move the Patriots make. And B's and C's as playoffs approach. Few games left. They're coming down the stretch. And, of course, Catone's comments. Never want to miss that. Your heated hotline calls and anything you bring to the table, we will be ready for. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday. They lied to us.
Find Corso and Catone on iHeartRadio, iTunes, or wherever you podcast. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, Corso and Catone, and catch the chaos at 7 p.m. on Saturday.